Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Purple Breakdown, a podcast covering the Baltimore Ravens. I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of the podcast as we enter here into more of the postseason. And I know I'm back real soon after releasing a lot of episodes over the past few days, back to back to back. But I'm just trying to keep up with the news that's coming out, and the news is continuing to come out. So I'm going to keep making podcasts as it's coming out. I wasn't planning on making one today, but here I am. Just want to start the video off again. Please, if you are not subscribed or following on Spotify, please subscribe and follow. It really helps expand the channel more. Leave a like and commenting for whatever reason really works with the analytics. I don't know what it is, but it works with the analytics and gets it out to more people. And it really helps the podcast grow. We're up to 34 subscribers. So thank you all for who have subscribed. I'm so thankful for all of you. And we'll jump right into it. So there's some coaching updates. As of today, the Ravens have hired Keary Colbert as Ravens wide receiver coach. He is the former Broncos wide receiver coach. He has had experience under Sean Payton. I feel like this is just another hire that goes along with all the hires that the Ravens have been making for the rest of this offseason that the Ravens have had. He is an experienced wide receiver coach. We've seen what he's done with the Broncos, and especially in coordination with Bo Nix and the rise of Bo Nix there on the Broncos, and I'm excited to see going forward how he can help shape out the wide receivers for the Ravens, especially since I'm expecting to see more wide receivers drafted in this year, and not only more wide receivers drafted in. Looking at the free agents for wide receivers, there are some wide receiver names that pop up there that could be interesting picks that the Ravens could try targeting in free agency. The problem is how much are they willing to spend in the cap space, and we're going to be going into those on a later episode of the podcast as I dive in specifically more who would fit the Ravens cap space needs and the best needs that they need on the table right now with a game plan that works for them going forward in the weeks to come, especially since, as I keep reiterating, free agency opens up in 1 month on March 11th. And I think this is just another, I'm going to keep reiterating. I know I bounced around here for a second, but Keary Colbert, wide receiver coach, what he's done with the Broncos, it's experienced head coach coming in that's going to help reshape the Ravens wide receiver core, help push Zay Flowers to the next level. If Rashad Bateman stays, help him stay more consistent, because that's something that is needed. You can't go from a year where you have dang near 800 yards and touchdowns to a year where you barely get anything and fall off. And you need to find a way to get Zay Flowers to have more touchdowns, but that's also somewhat in the way of how the Ravens operate. Is when they get into the red zone and down there, they tend to target tight ends and running backs more. So that's also where touchdowns would come from. Zay would be more of he created room and got open and got free to have the space to run down the field. So I like the hire. I like the Sean Payton connection. It jumps in with Declan Doyle and Lombardi coming in, and how many connections to Sean Payton and his style of offense that the Ravens have now brought in as coaches to help push forward. The other news is that the Ravens have completed their hiring of the big four: head coach and your three coordinators. We know head coach is Jesse Mentor. He's made the hires for his coaches. Offensive coordinator is Declan Doyle, former Bears offensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator is Anthony Weaver, former defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, as well as a former player for the Ravens. And then special teams coordinator is Anthony Levine Sr. He is a former special teams coach for the Titans, as well as a 12-year, he was a 12-year veteran in the NFL, but also a 10-year veteran on the Ravens in special teams as well. I look at this and I go, I love all this. And this fits exactly with what the Ravens have been doing. The Ravens have been bringing in young people to help spice up the team and make them have fresh ideas. This is Jesse Minter, this is Declan Doyle, but then they brought in the older heads who bring calm and collectiveness to it all, and can keep the head coaches and the younger minds still moving on a path that works and doesn't veer too far off course. Anthony Levine did the work well while he was at Baltimore. I mean, he has 10 years in the special teams and consistently stayed there. And there's a reason why you have 12 years in the league is you put in the effort, you put in the work. And as soon as he retired from the league as a player, he immediately went into coaching. And this is just lifting somebody up out of the ranks. And the Ravens like doing this. We've done it with Zach Gore and multiple other people before. Jesse Minter has connections not only to the Harbaughs, but the Ravens too. And Anthony Weaver was a player for the Ravens and a coach for the Ravens, and this is just lifting people that they trust up through the ranks. I'm excited to see how this coaching staff turns out further going forward with not only the defensive mind of tutoring under McDonald and what they just did, the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl, because Mentor is a protege of Mike McDonald, but also having offense that is going to be influenced by Sean Payton and Ben Johnson. I'm loving how this is going to turn out. The only thing I'm hoping, though, out of all this, that Anthony Levine Sr. coming in as special teams coordinator can lean in and bring consistency to the special teams. That is what the Ravens have been very used to, is consistency on the special teams as well as production out of it. And that's what the Ravens need to keep and enforce, is that it's a consistent special teams that has consistent production, making Loop take that step up from his rookie year and be more consistent in his kicking and not miss pivotal kicks, having the special teams on punt and kickoff make the tackles, get the ball, find openings, and just be the very best they can. And I believe Levine can do that. I'm excited to see how it goes forward, and I can't wait to see how this team shapes up in the offseason, especially with free agency coming up here in not too long, and the hires that the Ravens will make, which we'll be jumping into more. The one other thing I wanted to go into with free agency, though, because I got to give a shout out to David here and commenting on the video yesterday. He got me thinking last night and pointed out rightly that Njoku wants out of the Browns. He's done with the Browns. He's said it's time for him to find a new home. And looking at the Ravens, well, Charlie Kolar and Isaiah Likely are leaving the team. Mark Andrews is already on contract for another 3 more years, but Njoku's out there now, and he will be a free agent. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. So that could be a possible target that the Ravens could want. And because of David, I was thinking on that all of last night, so thank you. And honestly, the more I thought on it, the more I actually like it a lot. Njoku's both good at blocking as well as a receiving threat. He has led the Browns in receiving as tight end for the past several years until this year when Fanning Jr. took more over for the Browns. And looking at Njoku, yes, he's older. He's on the same side as Mark Andrews. But he's consistent in production, is good in the block scheme, and the Ravens rely on solid production in tight ends. The question is, would he be at a price that the Ravens would be willing to take, especially with the cap space that they have to work with? And this all goes into cutting Marlon Humphrey, extending Lamar Jackson, making any trades that you need to make, letting people walk in free agency that you don't want to re-sign. Because when looking at Njoku, he's going to be demanding a contract that could be between 10, 13, 14 million dollars in that range. And that could go towards somebody else, like an edge defender, another defensive tackle, somebody to help make depth on corner or safety, maybe a wide receiver if they see that as a need, keeping Keaton Mitchell and other key pivotal players there like Linderbaum, Patrick Ricard, Keaton Mitchell, Alois Gilman, Chidobe Awuzie, players such as that. I will say, I do love the fact that Njoku is a blocking tight end and a receiving tight end and excels so good at both. And you could argue over the past few years that Njoku hasn't been used properly at the Browns because of how their quarterbacks have targeted tight ends and not really seen them as a priority to throw to, as not their favorite receiving target, that they would rather throw to the receivers. And this changed a little with this past year with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders coming in. And they began targeting, especially Fanning Jr., who just leapt off the pages. And now the Browns will be going with him forward. And so this is the question: would the Ravens be willing to target Njoku? Personally, I think it's going to be something as much as the Ravens want and could look at and say, we would like him. You got to look at Likely, and there's proponents on the team who would like to keep Likely there. Derrick Henry has already come out and said that he wants the Ravens to re-sign Likely and keep him with Mark Andrews. And I'm sure Jackson would also be a proponent of that because there's already a chemistry there established between Likely and Jackson. And Likely has proven himself in critical moments for the Ravens as being a player who will show up in critical moments and make the catches that need to be made. Even though he may not get as many targets, he will make the critical catches that are needed to be made. And he's also something else where he is a stretching the field vertically tight end. He is not as much of a blocking tight end as Mark Andrews, and he is more a pure receiving tight end. And that's not to say he won't be blocking, but he definitely is not as good at it as Njoku and Andrews. So the Ravens need to be looking at this and asking, are we willing to give up? Because if you take Njoku, you're giving up Likely. You're bringing in Njoku, and you're going to have two tight ends that can block, which would be a benefit out there on the line and schemes you want to throw, especially if you're out there looking run, and then all of a sudden you have two tight ends go out like that, or who stay and can both block, and you can change how you want to run that offense? Or would you rather have the continued chemistry moving forward with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely there, and they both very much like working together and playing together, and Lamar's trust in both of them? And I think looking off how the Ravens typically go with proven talent or staying with players that who they like, as much as I would like to say Njoku would come, I think they either take Likely or they take a play right out of the Browns playbook and look at the draft and take a young tight end. And even if they re-sign Likely, they may still be in the draft looking at a tight end or even an undrafted tight end to just add a further depth, sort of with how they've done with Charlie Kolar. Because I firmly believe there's no re-signing of Likely and Kolar. You cannot keep both of them. That's just too much money right there. So the answer is Njoku, great player, could excel in could excel in key spots for the Ravens and be a very versatile player for the Ravens. However, based off the salary cap limitations and what the Ravens have done in the past, I think they'll either re-sign Likely or take a draft pick to fill that next role. However, that is all I have for you today. I would like to thank you all for joining in. Again, I'm going to reiterate it. If you are not subscribed or following, please subscribe or follow the podcast. Leave comments, help it grow, share it. I love seeing the comments too because it makes my day seeing them. You ask amazing questions, so keep asking amazing questions. I will do my best to answer them based off the information that's currently out there, and even some of my own thoughts. Most of my own thoughts, because as much as you can do as a podcaster and looking at this is you can have the facts and then you can have your opinions and you combine those together into what you believe going forward and off the statistics that the Ravens have done in the past. And that's how it operates because we can't be entirely correct 100% of the time. We just give as much information as we can and then throw in what we believe and how we would sort of run the system and what we would believe would work best. And that's how we get to the spots where we would go. But I'd like to thank you all for joining in. Please subscribe, please follow, please leave comments. It makes my day. I love to keep talking with everyone. Thank you so much. I will see you all on the next podcast. Have a great day.